All right, we got you. Cool. How's everyone's week's been?
Great.
Cool.
Just hope I don't catch the coronavirus.
Corona. Well, yeah, don't know what to say. You look like you've lost weight, Morris.
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah. Can you tell?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. I just see it here in your neck.
Just here.
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near halfway though.
Well, you know, look at the cup half full rather than half empty. Yeah.
That's it.
It comes, and the slower it comes off, it normally means that you keep it off, you know, rather than big drops.
Yeah. I think though that I was the Christmas break really buggered me up, you know.
Yeah.
I just really, really overate. Couldn't help myself.
Yeah. Well, I think you're on the right track with what you're doing. And then once this 6 weeks or 7 weeks is over, then just to hopefully it'll be refined enough for you to then just keep going on it.
Oh yeah, I think it's just getting into the habit of things, you know.
Yeah.
Was 212, and it didn't was sitting on top of
That's a bit random noise. Is that you, Will, making all that noise? I might be Jim. Hey, Jim.
You're on let's go you. Present.
Hey, Jim.
Hi, Christy Lace. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah.
Good. There he is. Hi, Ian.
Hi, how you going?
Good. And you?
Yeah, good.
Where are you?
Singapore.
Oh. Good. Till Friday.
Thursday night.
Thursday night. Yeah. Easy says 2 more sleeps. All right. What do we got? We've just got just a couple of minutes. We'll just wait until 6:30, and then we'll get cracking into it. I've got a few. Oh, where'd he go? I saw that. There he is. Unmute. Muted again. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Hang on. We got one more. All right. No, but that's camera. That's just camera. That's his.
Right. There you go.
Hey, Max, we can't see you.
Pardon?
Can't see you, Max, but can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know what's happened.
That's all right.
Start video, I think.
Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah, first. Hi.
Hi. It's a bit windy here. I don't know, is it affecting the sound there?
No, it's not so bad.
All right.
No, it's good. It's good. All right.
I'll go inside if we need to.
Cool. Yeah, no, I'll let you know if it's a problem. So, all right, cool. Hey, hi everyone. Now properly, we're all here. Okay. Anyone got any pressing questions that they want to ask
No, all good this end.
Anyone? How about you, Will? You got anything good?
I got questions, nothing pressing.
Okay. All right. All right. I wanted to briefly go over what we call treat food. So last week we brushed over food rules, and if you didn't see it, it's online if you want to go back and do it. Otherwise, it's on the website. There's a page that takes you onto food rules. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about treat foods, because I think that I think that it's really important. So when I say treat foods, with most people, I will say you need to come up with 4 or 5 different treat meals. Yeah. So when you do want to cheat, or probably more importantly, when you go to cheat and you don't want to. Does that make sense? So when you want to break your diet, when you're going to break your diet on whatever, McDonald's, a bag of chips or a block of chocolate or something like that, you've already got 4 or 5 meals or foods that you will fall into. That makes sense? Yep. So, and of course, that'll be different for every person. So if you want to, if you're stuck doing that, maybe flick me an email of, after tonight, flick me an email of, just let me know if you're stuck on, so say for instance, I'm trying to find one. So chocolate. So I used to be a chocolate fiend, and I just don't want it like I used to. So for me, one of the ways that I did that, first of all, I made my own chocolate, raw chocolate. It is a little bit of a process, but I don't think it's that difficult. But that was the first step that I took, and then after that, I used fresh dates, and I used to pip them, or still do, pip them and put homemade peanut butter in them and freeze them. So then if I wanted something sweet, that's what I went and got. Make sense? Yep. And also when say I was getting my period or something, and I wanted probably more relevant for the women, but maybe not so if you're feeling stressed or something like that, and I wanted something big and heavy and carby. So for me, I used a big bowl of oats, berries and nuts and seeds. So rather than falling into, say, chocolate or a piece of cake or something like that, rather than falling into, say, a block of chocolate that's, anywhere up to 1,000 calories, that wouldn't at all fill me up, I know that the treat food that I go to eat has maybe max, maybe 500, 600 calories, depending on if I load it up with nuts. So it's like a safe, you can break your diet. When you just can't not do it, at least you've got a selection of foods that you can break it and not feel so bad. That makes sense?
Yeah. They're a different calorie too, like they're more nutritional, full as well. So even if you are falling into a so-called treat meal, if you've got your 5 or so good treat meals, they're going to be a lot more calorie, so nutrient enriched than falling into a block of chocolate, which is really, especially if it's milk chocolate or something like that, you're not going to get any nutritional value out of it. So it's a good bad, so to speak.
Well, it's not even a bad.
Yeah, that's right.
It's 500 or 1,000 calories on empty calories, or 500 plus calories on a nutritionally balanced food. Yeah. So, so I would really encourage you to do that, because it can be if you're someone who doesn't have a problem with cheating or breaking their diet, then don't worry about it. But if you are, then it's probably wise to pick a few. So some of my other ones was a big stir fry, and I'd have a Thai flavor or something like that, and I'd have tofu in it. So I could sit relatively comfortably and eat as much as I wanted to and know that I wasn't doing that much damage. Yeah, you could go fruit. I mean, there's endless amounts. It's just going, what are the foods that you cheat on, and then replacing them with something else. And if you get stuck with replacing something, just send me an email, and I'm hopefully will be able to come up with something. I mean, you've got chia puddings and, you know, homemade cakes. There's so many things that you can do that you can still, if you're a sweet or savoury person, you still have those foods when you want them. Because if you feel deprived for too long, it won't work. It won't work. And if you do break the diet, get over it and get back on board again. It doesn't matter. In the big scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. So if you spiral down for whatever reason, whether it be one meal or 1 week, almost just dust it off and get back on board again, because it's the overall that matters, not the few little bumps along the way. Yeah, even like we were sort of talking a little bit before about Christmas. So, you know, it's almost like if you are somebody that, and lots of people are like it, if you're somebody that does relax over Christmas, well, really, as long as you're not making huge amounts of damage, even if you put on 5 kilos, which is a pretty big stretch over the Christmas break, but say you put on 5 kilos, well, get back on the diet, start again. It really is that simple. It doesn't have to be stressful. So because stressing too much about it or about their bumps, they easily can make you blame the diet. Does that sort of make sense? And it's not. It's just a bump, so that's something that to maybe just have a think about. Okay. Anyone got any questions on that one?
You guys still eat milk chocolate?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I would never have believed. I wouldn't have believed that I would have been in this place of not wanting it.
But what about dark chocolate then? Doesn't it have any milk in it?
No.
Oh.
No, I actually don't think, now that we're talking about it, I don't think I've put that on the website. So I will put that recipe on the website, and I'll add a link on if I can, or I'll just send you all a message and go on the website, and I will put it on there how to make it. It's, like I said, it's a little bit of a process, but it's maybe 1, 2, 3, maximum 4 steps in doing it. So it's not you melt the cacao butter and then you add the cacao powder. What am I missing? If you do have a bit of a sweet tooth, you might add some, not honey, what's the other one? Maple syrup.
Stevia?
Yeah, I beg your pardon?
Stevia or stevia?
You could add stevia if you wanted to. I've never done it, so I can't see that it would be a problem. Because my sweet tooth is really knocked down a bit, I just put fresh dates in there. I just chop dates up and then I put that in. And I'll normally put nuts, seeds in there, and I make like a nut seedy log thing, and then I just chop it all up or something, because it also makes the cacao go much further. So therefore, when I'm eating it, it still tastes like chocolate, but it's predominantly nuts and seeds. Yeah, so it's quite, I think that it's a good way to do it. So I'll put that on the website, just so you've all got it. Also Lindt, Lindt is milk free. Only, I think it's 80% up. I think below 80, but if you read the back, it will say it. Yeah, but I'm pretty, might 70%, but I can't remember because I haven't looked at it for ages. But I know 80% and above is milk free. Yeah. Hang on, I'm just reading something. All right. Someone was just talking about nuts. Nuts, but eating a lot of nuts and yet still continuing to maintain weight loss. It depends on the person. Some people can eat a lot of nuts some people can't. So that's probably about, does that make sense? You know, some people could consume a lot of nuts and some people can't. But then you've also got to look at what else is going on in the diet as well.
And also what you've replaced those nuts with. How, like what your diet was like beforehand. And fair enough, you might be now eating a lot of nuts, but it's better than probably eating some of the foods you're eating before you change to the whole food nutritional plan. So, yeah.
And also nuts are, you know, when we talk about fat, similar to carbohydrates, we clump them all together. So we call, I mean, avocados, if you're old enough or if you remember, 15 years ago, avocados were a no-no because they make you fat. And now they're fabulous. I mean, look, they call coconuts a friggin' health food. Yeah? So coconut oil, I meant, is a health food. So if you really, the more I have practiced to stop looking at things in isolation, the better the diet becomes. Doesn't mean you don't look at things in isolation, but you don't only measure by isolating. Most of us, I can't say most of us, but probably one of the most predominant diets today would be like your paleo diets and things like that. And they concentrate on protein, mostly. And there's a lot in common. We have a lot in common with the paleo diet as well, but how it's built around protein, whereas a whole food plant-based diet is built around micronutrients. That's one of the difference. So if we were to analyze a paleo diet, say a paleo diet maybe off of, I don't know, something that we used to give years ago, it would balance for the macronutrients, carbohydrates, protein and fats, but it would be very unbalanced in micronutrients. Yeah, makes sense? Whereas all it's done is shifted the focus to the micronutrients, the vitamins and the minerals, which covers the other three anyway. Make sense? Yeah. Any questions? No. We just had something. I was just thinking it today myself anyway. The more and more you can. Some people are crazy calorie counters or macro counters. I was one of them. Yeah, I still automatically can probably tell you how much you got on your plate just because I practiced it for so long. But the more and more you don't look at calories, doesn't mean you never count them, doesn't mean they're not important, but don't concentrate on them too much. It's a guide. Yeah, so say for me, my calorie intake would be around 2,000 calories a day, maybe something like that. But the density of those, the micronutrient density is far better than what it was before. Make sense? Any questions?
Yeah, so you're saying don't focus on calories, but if we look at the diet, even on your website, and we go into the areas and it says put in your details and blah, blah, and it comes out with a calorie and then a diet based on that calories.
Yep. So I'm not saying calories is a tool. It's one tool to measure what you're doing. As is macro counting is another tool to measure what you're doing. As is counting your energy expenditure, your exercise. It's another tool. As is your sleep patterns. It's another tool. As is weighing yourself. Does that make sense? It's one tool out of many tools that you want to have as well balanced a diet as we're able to get. We want to use as many tools. So calories are still relevant. Because if I over-consume calories, I will put on body fat. If I under-consume calories, I will become unwell. Yeah, I'll be malnourished and I'll more than likely lose my muscle mass and then lose my fat and health. Yeah. Did that answer
Yeah.
that question, Will?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
So just don't focus on it. It's just one of the many things we need to be watching.
Pretty much, because I found for myself personally, when I focused on the calories, that then if I went over whatever it was, so 1,600 calories, if I went over that, then I'd stop eating. And when you focus on calories, there's also the underlying, trying to think what word to use, or the underlying thought that a calorie is a calorie,
Yeah.
and a calorie is not a calorie. Yeah. So a calorie is a measurement of the heat that comes from burning something. Yeah, so I can burn a pile of wood, and I can measure that in energy, which is what is another word for calorie. It's energy. Make sense? So if I've got an apple, and then I've got another apple that's exactly the same size, there is no way of me telling if the calories are the same. Yeah? Because when calories are measured, so calories are measured again, and I'm not knocking this, but they're measured in a reductionistic way. So they're in a controlled environment. So they measure the apple, the environment is controlled. And then I eat the apple, and then it's going into a different environment than if it went into your body, Will. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it's a really great tool. I'm not knocking it. Calories are important, but they're not the be all and end all. They're just a measure, because I can't know how many calories is in the food that I'm eating. I'm just going off them being measured in a controlled scientific environment. Make sense?
So just a question related to that one. So on calories, one of my questions is, so if my diet, when I put in my numbers, it's coming out at 2,000, should I be eating the same amount all day, every day, or should I reduce it on the days that I don't exercise? So if I, let's say, do 500 calories of exercise, should I eat 500 calories of food, or
how do you
just
know
eat 2,000 all day?
So how do you know you've done 500 calories of exercise? How do you know that?
I've got a smartwatch with a heart monitor and all that.
So how do you know that is actually how much is burnt?
I suppose just guidelines, same as like the apple has got X calories. It's kind of that guideline.
Yeah, so I'm just alluding to that, to going, even that, it's just a measure, because that is measured from someone else. Yeah, so that environment is different. So hopefully in answer to your question, that's the basal metabolic rate. It's not with exercise. So say somebody that does a lot of exercise, if they jump on, someone that goes on so I start exercising more, all of a sudden I'm going to go on a competition again. I start exercising more, I'm going to need more food. And again, that is something that hopefully you guys walk away from this with enough knowledge to then be able to learn how to build that into your diet. Yeah, because there's not a one answer for everybody. It's not, okay, well, I've walked 10 Ks this morning, so my fitness pal tells me I think it's a ridiculous amount, it's like 600 or 700 calories or something like that. That doesn't mean that I can then go and eat that.
The body does an amazing job at regulating itself anyway. So, because if it didn't, and before we had the smartwatches come out, we all would have starved. So the whole thing is the body does a really good job at regulating. So when we go, when we have a big day of exercise and eat the same food every day, our body kind of levels that out automatically anyway. So.
And probably, Will, this might be helpful, and I've just written it down, and I'll try and find the literature for you or for all of you guys. They reckon that exercise uses a maximum of 4% of your total energy expenditure. Make sense? So apparent exercise, they reckon, uses up 4% of my calories for the day, which leaves 96% reliant on everything else. the brain, supposedly the brain at rest, so not a brain, yes, the brain is stressed, it's working harder, but the brain at rest uses anywhere from 30% to 50% of your calories. So yeah, so my brain uses far more energy than any exercise I do.
Okay, so in conclusion, just eat the standard flatline calories according to the diet and ignore the days of exercise and don't exercise.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping the next bit that I want to talk about is going to help with that. So has anyone got any other questions?
Yeah. What about sugars and that, like from fruit and stuff like that?
Yep. Okay. And what do you mean? What
happens if you eat a lot of fruit? You're going to get a lot of sugar, aren't you?
Yep.
So,
okay. But why is that? I'm just wondering.
Does that store itself as well? It's an energy source, so doesn't it eventually will contribute to weight gain?
Again, that's a personal thing. Some people can eat a lot of fruit and some people can't eat a lot of fruit. The thing with fruit is that fruit has more fructose than vegetables. And so fruit's got more fructose, and fructose got like a massive bad rap, which in isolation it is. It's pretty crappy. Fructose is pretty crappy, but when it's in fruit, it acts differently in the body. So some people can eat a lot of fruit and some people can't eat very much. But I personally, and if you look at most of the even paleo diets, they still allow fruit. They do suggest that you eat lower on the fructose, lower on the sugar, can't think of the word now, the sugar spectrum, I'll use that word, like blueberries, things like that.
Sort of answer a little bit as well. You don't eat fruit in place of other nutrient-dense vegetables and stuff in there as well, because if you're starting way more fruit than the other foods, well, then you're out of balance again. So, of course, you're better to eat fruit than having milk chocolate or whatever. But if you're starting too much fruit in the place of your starchy carbs and your proteins and your green leafy vegetables, well, then you're still out of balance as well. So, would you agree with that?
Yeah, well, when they average out the calories, we talked a little bit about it last week. 1 pound, so what's that? 2.2 kilos of vegetables is 100. They reckon that they average it out as 100 calories. The same amount of fruit is averaged out at 200 calories. So pulling calories back into the equation, there's more calories in fruit than there are in fruit and vegetables, But that doesn't mean don't eat them. Because fruit are really high in vitamin C. I mean, as are other plant foods, but fruit is really high in vitamin C. So, as well as many other things. So that's definitely not I definitely would encourage you to not make them no food, and really notice when you call sugar, fruit's got sugar in it. It does. But it's very different than the sugar on the table. It's very different from the sugar that's in products. It's completely different. How did that answer that, Morris?
Yeah, good actually. Because keep hearing, you can only eat 2 pieces of fruit a day or something, Sometimes I like to eat 4 pieces, just depends how I feel.
Then eat them. And really, I do it myself. I'm not implying that you're doing it, but when you go onto the website and you go onto the diet plan, that's just a suggestion. Just so it's something there for people to look at, to go, oh, that's what that might look like. It's just a suggestion.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to then go and learn what the options are, because once you practice it a little bit, it gets quite easy. So say for instance, for me, I will go, say for instance, I have 1 cup of oats in the morning. I could then just replace that 1 cup of oats for 1 cup of brown rice. Yeah, or if I've got, say, on my diet plan, if I've got 1 cup of brown rice, well, I can have 1 cup of quinoa, I can have 1 cup of barley, I can have 1 cup of potato, I can have, just as a guide. Yes, it's going to change the nutritional breakdown, it's going to change the calories, it's going to change the macros, but overall, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You don't have to get into the habit of measuring and weighing and all of this stuff. You might need to do it a little bit at first until you learn how to eyeball the food. I can eyeball it. I can go, there's a cup. There's a half a cup. There's 10 cups of vegetables. How did that answer that?
Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I'll roll on to the next thing. And I want to quickly show you how to weigh yourself. Yeah, I see some faces there. Weighing yourself is a really, really good tool. It's just a tool. If you do have a lot of stuff around it, it can be really challenging, but it is just a tool. And I used to get on, it was, if I got on the scales and it was either a good day or it was a shit day. Yeah. So, but now I use it and it's a really, really good tool. And it's just one measurement. So I could use skin folds, I could use a tape measure, I could use a pair of pants, I could use the scales. Yeah. So it's just one
mirror.
No. The mirror doesn't matter, Morris, because if you're in a shit mood, you look in the mirror and you go, man, I look shit today. I look fat today. Or you look in the mirror and you've had a great day, or some woman's winked at you and you think you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Not me. Anyway, all right. Hopefully I can show you. All right. I'm looking at you, Morris, going, where's my pen? All right. I don't know if it's going to work.
It'll work.
Okay. I'll see if I can. So it's Monday. No, you can't see. All right.
Yeah, we can see that.
You can see it? Okay. So M for
Not
Monday.
crystal clear, but I can see it.
Tuesday. Wednesday. Thursday. Oh, I buggered it up. Okay. Hang on. Sorry. Scrap that. I'm sure there's a song about that. All right. Monday. Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yep, so days of the week. Yeah?
Does that make it better or worse?
Okay, so I'll use me as an example. So Monday, I get on the scales and I'm 61 kilos. Tuesday, I get on the scales, I'm 61 kilos. And when you weigh yourself in the same conditions. So if you do it before you poop, you do it before you poop every day. If you do it after you poop, you do it after you poop. Yep. Wednesday, I'm 63 kilos. Thursday, I'm 61. Friday, I'm 61. Saturday, I'm 62. Sunday, I'm 61. So how I measure that week is by the whole week. So on an average, I am 61 kilos. Make sense? Okay, so here comes Mary Jane's birthday, which is tomorrow. So I weigh myself Monday morning and it's 60 kilos. I weigh myself today, Tuesday, it's 61 kilos. I weigh myself Wednesday, it's 61. I weigh myself Thursday, it's 65. Yeah, I weigh myself, so it's 4 kilos up. On Friday, I weigh myself, it's 64. On Saturday, I weigh myself, it's back down to 61. Sunday, 61. So I can see, even though in the past that 65 would have sent me on a spiral of over-exercising, cutting calories, or just a crappy day, I know And because it's only in 1 week, I go, hang on a minute, why am I 65 kilos? I'm 65 kilos because I ate so much food on Wednesday. I'm retaining water, I'm retaining salt, it's not fat. Any questions?
What's your variance usually though?
Okay, I'll go on to the next. So that I'm going to take out Mary Jane's birthday. So I can show you something else. I'll make that 62, 61. Okay, so now the next week comes about and I weigh myself on that. So I've had that week minus Mary Jane's birthday. Yes, so I'm still stable over that week, 61 kilos. So I come the next week, I'm 61 kilos. I'm 62 kilos. I'm 62. I'm 62. I'm 62. 62. Whoop, I'm 62. So over that week, I know that I have gone up. Make sense?
Mm.
Because on average, I've averaged it out, I've gone up. So the key with doing that is that in 1 week, I can look back over that 1 week and go, okay, what have I done? What's different? And I might notice that, I don't know, I've had a stressful week, so I've been eating something that I wouldn't normally eat. Any questions?
Do you recommend daily weighing for everyone?
Yes. Yep. Only unless you're a real head case around it. Because if I don't measure myself, if I measure myself, only sporadically, I'm not going to be able to pick up that. Whereas I can look back over my week and go, hang on a minute, what's going on there? And then
what you're saying is you don't make a change unless it's something that's changed over a week. You don't change it over a day.
Exactly right. Exactly. Yeah. And it gives you that short amount of time to look back over your week, Tara, and I could go, what have I done this week? Oh, I upped my nuts.
Mm.
I grew some nuts. Yeah. So I had extra nuts. As an example, women a little bit different because I might like with Mary Jane's, if I'm getting my period, if a woman's getting her period, you can almost guarantee her body weight will go up for anywhere up to a week from 2 to 5 kilos. So, but it's really good. It's a good tool for women. It's a good tool because I go, hang on a minute, what's going on? I go, oh, my period's coming. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to change because once that passes, I straight away go back down to 61. That makes sense? So on whatever it was, Saturday night, we went to Papagello's and we had pasta. And it had oil on it and all this stuff. And so Saturday night I ate out. We also had a little bit of pizza or something. I ate out. When I weighed myself on Sunday and Monday morning, I was up 3 kilos because I hold water. Tuesday morning, back down to 61.
Was it good though?
Yeah, it was more the atmosphere. I'm pretty anal with my food, but it was good. Papagello's is good because they'll make it vegan for you. The only thing that it's still a little bit oily for me, but they're fantastic. So you just ask them for vegan
and just also answer your question a bit too, Tara. If you don't weigh yourself every day and say you go here and there and you bounce for a period of time, you may actually put on 3 or 4 kilos before you catch what you're doing and saying, oh, hang on a minute, I weighed myself up here, then I weighed myself down here. A whole week and a half later, gone up 1.5 kilos, 2 kilos. How do you work out what you've been doing? And then you've got the work to do of go and lose that 1.5 kilos, 2 kilos again anyway. Whereas you catch at the end of the week and say, okay, I'm eating too many nuts, or cut down my nuts, and all of a sudden you're back here next week. You just run
and also another thing is it works in the opposite. So if you don't want to lose body fat, it then works in the opposite. Then you're watching, you see day to day what your weight is. So you can see starting to drop your weight, and then that's it's a really fantastic tool to let you know, is your diet working or is it not?
How do you know though how much you're meant to weigh? I mean, there's guidelines for your height, but like,
Probably one of,
used by this.
it depends on the person, because BMI, depending on if you're a heavy person, if you hold muscle mass, it isn't so accurate. I'll move you back over here. It can be inaccurate. One of the ways that I'm smiling, because it is actually a good way, but it can be a little bit scary at first. If you did your fingers, everyone go like this. Come on, everybody do it.
Show me the money.
Yeah, show us. Well, you're not going to be showing your money. If you can grab more than an inch underneath your left rib cage, so right underneath the bottom rib cage, then you're carrying too much body fat.
Oh, okay. Jeez.
Yep.
Now you really depressed me.
Come on, don't be
Thanks,
depressed.
Christy.
I can't have in India culture. Fat is good.
Well, you're not in India anymore.
Depends how long you want to live in India for.
And even in saying that, it's not, you don't have to be super lean. It's got to suit you. You can realistically carry some body fat. You could have a more than an inch. You could have I don't know. You could have not a big handful, but you could have a good fat there and still be healthy. Some people hold body fat more than others, and some people are leaner than others. So again, it's just a tool, and it. How many fat old people do you know? I mean old people, 80 plus. Who do you know who's fat and old?
My mother-in-law.
How old is she?
Not your mom.
Huh? How old is she?
Yeah, she's 72.
She's not past 80.
But she's fat.
But she's not over 80 yet. If she's still kicking around at 90, 95, then, and I mean, if she's eating a traditionally Indian diet that's full of wild herbs and stuff, well, hey. And
not just lots of fat.
And
Traditional Indian diet.
Well, maybe not traditional, but yeah. But again, it doesn't mean there's never going to be a fat person. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
But really, realistically, no, you shouldn't have a 6-pack or an 8-pack. That's not everybody's cup of tea. Some women, there's a difference between fat. So women, the fat that is under your belt for women, so around your legs, so your butt and your legs, that's called brown fat. Brown fat is healthy fat. Brown fat is there to feed your babies. Yeah. We just happen to be ready to have babies for a very long amount of time. Yeah. So weight on the legs, if you've got a small waist, or, if you've got a pinch, not so much a small waist because some people are wide in the waist. If you've got a small-ish pinch around the guts, but you've got a big butt, well, then you're healthy. Yeah? Did that answer the question or a question?
Yeah.
I suppose you just gauge what your lifestyle is. I mean, if we're in training, yeah, for sure, we don't want any, but, and I want to get to that point, by the way, but I'm not going to kill myself if I've got a little bit right now. So.
Well, yeah. Well, don't kill yourself. That would be a shame.
Over-exercise, I meant, but yeah.
Yeah. And it's a progression. All of it. It's a progression. I mean, I've competed on and off for 15 years. So I managed to maintain an outside level of leanness, but I had a lot of fat inside the muscles, like when you slice a piece of meat. But I was quite lean on the outside. I forgot where I was going with that, people. Poof, gone. It might come back.
It is an ongoing thing, is what Chrissy was sort of saying.
Oh, yeah,
As we get our meals get tighter and we get used to use the whole food, our body gets used to us then letting go of the the body fat, will predominantly get lean as we get older because we get used to the foods we're eating. Same again, it's not just about the food either. If you're in a high-stressed environment and you're getting your cortisone levels are getting spiked all the time, which is inducing insulin levels and all that in your body, that is something that can also help you retain the body fat as well. So it's not just about the food. The food definitely will help you help stay healthy and all the rest of it. If the last bit of stuff that you're trying to lose, and you're doing everything right with the food, well, you've got to look around what else is going on. So if and it can be something as simple as not getting 7 hours sleep a night. This can be something. So it is more than one factor.
And that refers back to where we were talking about you can't just reduce it to one aspect. You can't just reduce it to just your food. Oh, now you're all muted, so just wave if you've got a question because it was a bit noisy. So yeah, it's food, the environment you're in, how much you're sleeping, what your stress levels like, and if you to be quite lean, unless you are an ectomorph. So ectomorph are generally those long, tall, skinny people that can eat a whole pile of food and they don't put on body fat. Yeah, the leaner you want to be, you do need to concentrate. For the average Jill or Joe, you've got to concentrate more on your food. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't. For me personally, how I stay lean is because I don't eat anything that comes out of a packet. I eat oats, canned tomatoes, sometimes canned beans. What else?
Fruit and veggies.
Yeah, but out of a packet.
Oh, you mean out of a packet?
That's probably it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but that's my choice because I like the food that I eat. It doesn't mean that you guys have to do that. And you know what? If you've got a bit of a tire around your gut, but you're predominantly eating whole foods, then you're better off than if you're eating a pile of crap. So it's a progressive thing. And if you're a bit anal like me, well, then you want to learn more and you want to do more. Doesn't mean that's for everybody. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs, all that jive. But that's not everybody's cup of tea.
And it's also, you've got to weigh up, if you do like having a meal, if you do like having a bit of extra nuts, if you do like doing all that sorts of things, then you may like that more than having a six-pack. So, and I have the conversation with a lot of guys all the time, is they mightn't be ready to do what it takes to get below 12% body fat and stay there, because to maintain, for guys in the old system, below 12% body fat, it's a full-time job. It's not overeating at all. It's doing your cardio, doing your weights, making sure you're keeping everything really dialed in tight all the time. So if that's what you want to look like, that's what it takes. So, and
also remembering that one blowout is not going to make you fat.
That's right.
It's when, again, like we use the weight. It's the one after the other after the other. Like I sat with a fella yesterday and went through his diet, and just really briefly, it was like, well, I only have fish and chips once a week, and I have a burger probably once a week. I have ice cream maybe once a fortnight, a couple of other things. And then, and I said, well, hang on, let's put that over the week. And over the week, that's a damn lot of extra calories. And it's a lot of less useful calories than if that food had have been based more around whole foods.
Yeah, and you also look at, if you look at it like Christy's saying, over the whole week, I've got clients that they are really good Monday to Friday. They smash it Monday to Friday, but from Friday night to Sunday, they'll overconsume their whole week's intake. They'll overconsume by 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 calories because they're going out, they're having a few beers or whatever they're doing. And say, well, you want to lose X amount of body fat, you've got to be on the money the whole week. You can't be good between 9 to 5 because basically you're just yo-yo dieting between Monday to Friday. You're doing good, and then you're yo-yo dieting on the weekend. So especially if you're trying to come and lose body fat, you can't afford to do stuff like that. So, but then you've got to go, okay, what does my life, how do I want to live my life? I want to be able to go out once or twice on the weekend, have breakfast or maybe have a meal. You still can't go stupid and you can still lose the body fat. But if that's the lifestyle you want to have, well, then you just got to be honest with yourself and saying, okay, I'm not going to have a six-pack. I'm not going to have this if I keep on doing this. It's just being honest with yourself. Doesn't mean you're going to be unhealthy, because there's a certain amount of body fat we can carry and still be healthy. But it's just a matter of being honest with yourself about what your life really wants to look like. So,
any questions before I just go on to the next bit?
Yeah, I just have a quick one there, Christy. You were talking about weighing yourself 7 days a week.
Yep.
Is that just during a transition phase, or are you saying that's for someone for the rest of your life?
Yep, pretty much. I mean, of course, again, that too depends on, if I was to leave, I do it continuously. One, because it keeps me engaged in learning, if that sort of makes sense. So I'm constantly reading over the stuff. I'm constantly doing the stuff that I'm then flapping my lips about.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So if you're not busting out of your pants, I think, Morris, you asked about what was can't think of the word, but what was the difference that is allowed? No, it wasn't tolerance. You asked a question, Morris, when we were talking about weight.
How much was your variance?
Variance, that's right. Okay, so my variance before whole food plant-based used to be 3 kilos. So I would let myself climb up 2-3 kilos, and then I would go, okay, time to tidy up my diet, and I would tidy it up and it would fall back down. But the cleaner and the cleaner my eating has become, or the more whole food plant-based my eating has become, I only go up when I have some meal that maybe makes me retain fluid, or say we went to Bali last year, and so I had 5 days of just relaxing, so I just ate. I love eating, so I just ate and ate and ate and ate and ate. We had ice cream every, whatever, coconut ice cream every day. Came back probably about 3 kilos heavier, but I know, right, back onto my diet. 2-3 weeks later, yeah, it takes a little bit of time, but it comes back to the normal weight. Did that answer that question?
Yeah.
And one other thing that I wanted to say with what Powers was saying is, and I don't want to confuse you because there's so much information. Calories, the calories you eat, the different calories, so the calories in processed foods work completely differently in your body than whole foods. They're stored differently, they react differently. So, if I can overconsume, like I eat a lot of food. I'll put it on the chat thingy, or I'll send you an email tomorrow or the next day, and I'll show you what I eat. And so you're looking at probably 4 cups of carbohydrate, 12 to 14 cups of different vegetables, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 serves of fruit, probably 4 serves of nuts and seeds. And then if I want a snack, so it's a lot of food. So I can consume, and because it's nutritionally densely packed, but calorically low compared to what other things we call food. Make sense? Yeah. So there's so many things to look at, and that's why I think this way of eating, it's just named perfectly. It's whole. It's everything. It's how much exercise you do, stress, blah blah, food. How much love you got in your life, blah 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 blah. It all counts. And the more you are willing to look at your lifestyle habits, that's why it's called a lifestyle change. The more you're willing to look at your lifestyle habits one by one, you then start to regain control as much as any human can have control. You start to regain control of your life. If your life is spastic busy at work, And I get that. I understand that, you know, and I know there's people way more stressed than you. You can't ignore it. Well, you can, but it's at your detriment. Same as if you leave your diet. You can ignore it for a long time. You can ignore it until you hit 40, 50, 60, and then all of a sudden it's a problem. So it's just looking at everything. Any questions?
What about this whole thing about whole food and that, and then processing and all that sort of stuff? You know, there's a lot of people who talk about organic and all this sort of stuff. I mean, how much different is it?
To be honest, I don't know. Yeah, but the science, the science that I lean into is that you're better off eating normal, if I just say, you know, everyday fruits and vegetables, than not eating them. Because if you can't afford organic fruits and vegetables, don't throw it out of the window. If you are fortunate enough to be able, like we don't, because there's too many people to feed. We can't manage it in our budget, so we don't eat organics. There is, I'll just write this down so I don't forget. There's what they call the dirty dozen. So there's a group of it comes out maybe every 3 months. So even if you write that down, if you're super keen to get into it, it's called the Daily Dozen. And that is a list of the foods that have the most pesticides and herbicides on them. And then the opposite, the least pesticides. Yep. So that is a way that they've managed to get that information out to the masses to go, okay, if you can't afford organic, but you want to choose the fruits and vegetables that are lowest in pesticides and such, this is what you go for. But the science keeps saying that the effect of whatever pesticides and stuff on the fruit and veggies does not outweigh the value of the vitamins and minerals you will get from eating them. Did I make that make sense?
Yeah.
And so Christy washes all our fruit and veggies off and gets 99% of whatever she can get off it.
Just water. I just wash it with water.
Yep. Just washes it all off. And they also say that the antioxidants that are inside most of the fruit and vegetables also will counter whatever pesticides are on there as well. So they'll clean them out of your system.
And what is really, now I'm getting excited, what is really, where this gets twisted, where all of this gets twisted, is when you have a half-truth with a lie. Yep. So yes, there are some really bad foods that have pesticides and hormones and all of that jive, and it's animal-based foods are the highest foods in those toxins by far.
You can even go down as far as how it's, sorry.
So that's where we measure we measure the Western diet, and it's full of pesticides and full of all these toxins because it's full of meat. I'm not suggesting you don't eat meat, but the more animal products, dairy, animal, white, red, whatever color they come in, eggs, or they have more hormones, pesticides, and such in it.
And the thing about the pesticides and stuff like that, it attaches itself in the fat. So that's when you get into that sort of stuff. Whereas when you wash, 90% of the pesticides will wash off your fruit and vegetables, where you can't wash it out of your animal products because it's stored in the fat. So you've got to consume it. So that's why organic beef and stuff, if you're going to have it, that's where you go to your organic beef and stuff.
And then again, I don't want to bombard you with a heap of stuff, because if you choose to be someone that looks at the environmental impact of the food you eat, the higher up the food chain, so the more animals you eat, the more impact you have on the environment in terms of pesticides and herbicides and stuff. The food that we feed to the animals, that is the biggest consumer of those toxins. So we spray all the soybeans and we spray all the corn with all of those toxins, as well as the other things, but they're the heaviest foods that are loaded up, which are then fed to the animals. And what is also really important, the further up the food chain we eat, the more toxic the meat becomes, the food becomes. So when I'm eating plant from the bottom, that has got toxins on it, and then the cow eats that. So those toxins are in the cow as well as the cow's toxins. Then I eat the cow. Yeah. Fish being one of the highest with toxins. Again, just bits of information, because I don't want you to get overloaded or get all panicky, or, it's just starting to open your eyes and slowly, progressively changing the stuff that makes sense to you. It's got to make sense to you, otherwise you won't keep it. We had a couple of questions. I'll breeze over them. Stop.
Can I just quickly, because I've got to get going now, I've got to get ready, but great talk, and I'll see you next week.
See you, Max.
Right, Max.
Yeah.
See you,
bye, guys.
There's some really cool questions. So there's steaming vegetables versus boiling, or we just go raw. Really cool question. And it's got a really long answer if you want me to really break it down some. So I'll probably do an email. You're pain in the bum, whoever asked that question. No, I'm joking. It's a really good question. Vegetables, it depends on the vegetables. Some vegetables like carrots and celery, you can boil the guts out of it, cook the guts out of it, and it doesn't make a difference. Yep, when there's more broccoli, the more you cook it, the more nutrients get cooked out of it. Yeah, so it's a bit of a sliding scale. Probably if you can eat a raw salad or raw vegetables every day or every other day, fantastic. But from what I think I know, as a broad answer, they say one big salad a day. It is a broad answer. There's nothing wrong with cooking your vegetables. Boiling your vegetables, again, there is the old thought that nutrients get lost in the water. So one way you can combat that is don't cook with too much water, and then you just have the water. So if you're having a curry or something like that, you're not tipping out the water. So the nutrients may well be still in the water. Yeah, again, it depends on the vegetables. Steaming is good, again, as long as you don't over-steam them. Carrots you can go crazy with. But yeah, as long as predominantly short, sharp cooking is good, but if you're cooking it in stews and stuff like that, it's also fine. Look at the Indians, they live for ages and they cook the crap out of their food. Yeah? I love Indian food. It's one of my favourite. Effective food on mood is massive. Absolutely massive. But you've got to give it a chance to work. You've got to give it a chance to, and you are somebody that is sensitive to a food, eating it even moderately, whether that be, I don't know, once a week, may well be enough to throw you off. So again, it's individual. Coffee throws some people right off. It's really, you've got to, it's just again starting, and the more you track your diet for a period of time, the more you monitor it, the more you'll know. And you might, like using the weight, and you'll go, well, hang on a minute, I felt like crap on Monday. What did I do? Well, I ate pasta on Sunday. And that for you might be a food that doesn't make you feel good. Stop me at any point. Carbs versus fat versus natural sugars. God. Natural sugars is in all food, basically, unless I'm trying to find a food. Can't pull a food up right now that doesn't have sugar in it. A plant food that doesn't have sugar in it because it's glucose, yeah?
Celery.
Beg your pardon?
Celery.
Still got glucose in it.
A little bit. Okay.
Which is sugar. Yes, they still got it in it. Clever, but not clever enough. Carb versus fat. What sticks out for me is the versus. Nothing versus anything. No, nothing versus anything. Unless I say carbs, because we've got the question is carb versus fat. I'll just split it to that. So, no, it would be carbs versus carbs, refined carbs versus whole carbs, whole food carbs. Fat, saturated fat or processed fat opposed to whole plant food fats. Completely different, world apart. Make sense? Sugar, natural sugars. Man, we feed our kids fruit drinks because they've got natural sugar in them. It's as good. It's got as much sugar as a Coke. Yes, it's a good question, but it just needed to be slightly reworded. Carbs, processed carbs versus whole food carbs. Processed fats versus plant fats, whole fat. Natural sugars, processed sugars versus sugars that occur in whole plants. Did that make sense? Yeah? And I'll do a bit of an email on that one because it's a really good question, because the more and more I've defined what a product is and what food is, that's one of my rules. I'm like, if it's a product, I don't eat it. Yes, and it makes it easy for me, makes it easy. And again, it's a sliding scale because I'm a bit anal, so I zone on in. All right, I'll go on to the next one. If you need to stop me. Training in the morning versus the afternoon. There is a fair bit of science around that training in the morning is better for a few reasons. But if you're getting your ass out after dinner or after lunch, fabulous. Yeah. So if you're not a morning person and getting out on that road at 4 o'clock in the morning with me is not up your tree, then don't do it. If you're not going to run however many millions of Ks gym runs, then don't do it. Walk. It's got to work. Stop me if I've not answered any of them properly. Is morning training more beneficial for fat loss? I feel like that question's probably it could be asked differently. Is morning training more beneficial for, trying to think how to, no, the answer to the question is no. Is morning training more beneficial for fat loss, and is afternoon better for muscle growth? No, the time that you do it in the day that makes you do it is the time that works. Because how can I measure that between one body to another body to another body? You do it, it's good. Is it better to consume certain foods at certain times of the day, either carbs early on the day? Now, there is some science around that. So they say, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. I reckon that's probably pretty good as a general rule. So say, for instance, if I think about my diet, if I split it into 3 meals, I eat almost 1,000 calories at breakfast, and then I have about, 6 and 6 or 7 and 7, something like that in that range. So my bulk is breakfast. I like breakfast. Yeah. So again, as long that then you still take into account the total number of calories that you have over the day. So if you're not a huge breakfast person and you don't want to eat breakfast, or you just have a small breakfast because of lifestyle, because of you want it like that, then does it matter if you eat a big heavy meal at dinner time, as long as you have it at least 2 or 3 hours before bed? I don't think it's really going to make a difference. And then you might measure that if you're following this really fantastic whole food diet and then your weight's not shifting, then you might go, well, hang on a minute, maybe I'll swap my meals around. Yeah, but for me, and I'm not saying my common sense is right, but for me, I go, yeah, it's probably wise to probably have the bulk of your meals in the early of the day. But that's again, that's my thoughts on that. And like I said, I eat pretty much the same for lunch as the same for dinner. And if I'm hungry at dinner, I'll eat. Yeah. All right. Any questions? Stop me.
Just on that one there.
Yeah.
So as you can see, I'm still sitting in the dark here with the power cut. But
that's what's happened. I couldn't work out what happened.
You need a candle.
Yeah, we've got a power cut over here. So doesn't matter. You were saying ideally in the evenings, or you shouldn't snack or do anything after dinner, or well, in the evening until you have breakfast. So 12-hour fasting ideally. Doesn't matter if you're drinking tea or coffee in those periods.
As long as it was black. Coffee would be something that the only thing I would probably say about coffee is if it disrupts your sleep. That can be pretty common for a lot of people. But no, if you're having liquids, no. As long as you're not putting sugar in it. Yeah, so if it's black tea, black coffee, no. Again, it is definitely more the eating. Yeah, and then I suppose you've got to be careful that, I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure there's like teas and things like that have more than just the tea or the coffee in it. So you would have to just look at whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but if it's plain tea and no, definitely not a problem. Not a problem. I'll go on to the next one again. Just stop me. Alkaline food versus foods. The most acidic foods are animal-based foods. They are the most acidic foods. Okay, so the more animal products, all of them, dairy, eggs, meat, some people, red meat, white meat, pink meat, whatever it is, they are the most acid forming foods.
Milk.
Or milk, anything that comes from someone with eyes, they are the more acid loading. So the more you can limit them out of your diet, again, I'm not suggesting you completely cut them out. It's not everybody's cup of tea. But if you bring that down, they actually recommend at the moment 2 to max of 3 times a week that you have animal products. That's the current recommendation. World Health Organization, can't think of the other one right now, it'll come back, So that's the current recommendation. Any questions, again, stop me. How much is too much coffee? How long's a piece of bloody string?
When you're jittering all around the place and can't sleep and your heart starts doing murmurs and stuff.
I shouldn't make fun. They reckon they give, so the estimate that they give out is 6 cups of coffee a day. 6 cups of coffee. I would be like lightning if I drank 6 cups of coffee. So again, it's a personal thing. Some people can't handle it at all, but they reckon 6. And that is, like your proper coffee, not just your instant coffee. So it's quite strong. Yeah, it's quite. In many cultures, they drink coffee from when they're kids. Yes, coffee's not bad. It's the amount of coffee, and again, looking at the quality of the coffee
and what you have with it. If you have lots of cow's milk with it, well, it's not good for you.
So so coffee again, you got to look at that and just in what environment does that happen? Okay. Again, stop me if you need to. Apple cider vinegar versus other vinegars. Great question. Again, massive difference. Massive difference. So a lot of the other vinegars are basically the chemicals, how they're produced. So if you're just buying your cheap vinegars, they do not have the same effect that apple cider vinegar has. There are quite a wide range of apple cider vinegars that you can have. So what you want to look for is vinegars that have the sediment in it. So they have all the stuff down the bottom.
So same, you can get cheap and nasty apple cider vinegars as well. So you want to get your good quality ones.
And there's a heap of evidence. I mean, apple cider vinegar has been around for a long time, hundreds of years, as a use for weight loss. And it's been scientifically tested. They reckon they say that it works, and how they've measured it in those studies. I'll write this down because I'll see if I can find you the link and send it through. There you go. There you go. Is 2 tablespoons before going to bed. That's what they found. I can't remember how big the study is now off the top of my head. But, I mean, if you had it in the morning, if you have it on your vegetable, if you have it as a dressing, is another way to have it. You don't have to have it before bed. You don't have to, whatever you do with that, shoot it down. You can mix it with water. You can tip it on your vegetables. Because you don't have to just chug it down. Olive oil versus nuts. So nut oils. I can't say a good quality olive oil is bad. That's not.
Virgin cold pressed.
Yep, so virgin cold pressed olive oil. Again, there's no evidence to say that that's bad. I don't believe that it's bad. I personally don't eat it as a general rule. I would, though, if it was a an occasion, I would.
Quantity probably comes in.
The thing with olive oil, any oil, so oil is 120 calories per tablespoon, all of it. Your car oil, the whole lot, yeah? So for me, personally, how I judge that is like I've got a tablespoon of oil here, which you easily would use if you were cooking with it, yeah? If not more, or on a dressing, yeah? So I've got 120 calories here. So do I want to spend my 120 calories on that tablespoon of oil, or do I want to eat a cup of rice? I want to eat a cup of rice because that fills me up. Yeah, so that's how I measure it. So again, if you're someone that has a fast metabolism or does a lot of exercise, you're an athlete, you're doing piles, 6 hours, 20 plus hours a week of exercise, then you can afford more. You can afford more of those foods. It's a personal thing. Something you've got to play with. And cooking with water, I had to Google it when I first did it because I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. You can cook everything with water, everything. Baking, you can use pumpkin puree, which you can make yourself, apple sauce, which you can make yourself or you can buy, and then you just coat the potatoes. So if I use that spuds, or if you're making chips, oven fried chips, you just coat it with a pumpkin puree, banana puree, apple puree. It browns beautifully.
So with all the oils, it's just very easy to overconsume. So that's where you can get trapped.
So it's if you're from a Mediterranean background, that's a really popular food. So yeah, if you're using it and you enjoy it, I would start to look at how much you're using. So I would measure it. If you hit a wall where you're not gaining the results you want to gain, then you might have to look at that. Then you might look at that. Then you would look at that and go, well, hang on a minute, what am I doing? Well, you can eat, if you're cooking, you could have easily probably 400 extra calories a day. If you were cooking with it twice a day, say, you're having 2 meals with it, or having it on your salad or something. Or if you're having crazy bullet coffees or something, yeah, which isn't all the rage, you put coconut fat in there, yeah. All right, that's the questions done. Any questions? Are you all on mute, or are you just silent?
No, they're just silent.
All right. How you going there, Tara?
What about coconut milk?
Okay. Well, what about it?
So if let's say you make a green curry and use coconut milk.
I use coconut cream.
Pardon?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I use coconut cream. Again, it's the amount you use, and definitely, of course, the ingredients on that. But you can get some really good, especially the Asian coconut creams and coconut milks. They tend to have less ingredients in them. And definitely stick your head in even the home brands, like the cheaper brands. Those two have less ingredients. But yeah, it's fine. Again, like if I'm cooking, and if I'm cooking with coconut milk or coconut cream, I'm making a huge pot. So I'm making probably 8 to 10 litres of curry, say, and I've got maybe at a stretch 2 tins of coconut milk or cream. So over the whole food, it's not very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did that answer that okay?
Yeah.
Whereas you wouldn't probably want to be tipping it on your cereal every morning if your goal was to lose body fat. Yeah. Yeah.
What about cooking with coconut oil or coconut fat?
It's the same as any oil or any fat. Yeah.
Okay.
All of that is pretty broad. It's 120 calories. And again, so if I'm cooking tofu, I use oil. I tend to use a tablespoon of coconut oil because it'll stick. Yeah, but I'm not eating that every day, and also I'm cooking a large amount, so there's probably a good 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 serves in that. So 120 calories spread over that is not very much.
I get most of it.
Yeah, the Pals eats most of it. So, you know. All right. Any other questions, guys? No. Okay.
Nope.
No. Okay. So if you do have questions, again, send them through. And I say it every week, and I'll keep saying it. If you're struggling anywhere, please don't sit on it. Yeah, because you're wasting your time. If you're stuck somewhere, let me know, and I'll do my best to answer it. And if I can't answer it, well, then I won't be able to answer it, but I will find a way. Yeah, most of them, with a little bit of thinking and a little bit of looking outside of your own thinking, there's answers. Yeah, so don't sit on anything.
How's your prep going, Jim? How's your body feeling?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, feeling pretty light. Training's going well.
Did you up those fats?
Yeah, through oils, nuts, doing the oats for breakfast, adding crushed peanuts, sultanas.
Right.
Was it flaxseed, chia, about a tablespoon of flax, chia and hemp seed.
Right.
Cup of soy milk, half a cup of oats.
Yep.
Up with banana, strawberries, blueberries, and a couple of spoonfuls of just plain yogurt.
Good.
Breakfast
That's sort of getting me through till about 9:30.
Yeah.
How's the inflammation in the body, like your recovery? You're feeling a difference, or you just
Yeah, I am noticing the difference without the meat. Yeah, for sure. Well, that's what I'm putting it down to. So yeah, definitely. The body, the joints are feeling a lot less impact. I think the recovery is better than I've had in the past too. So yeah, happy with it at the moment too. Yeah.
That's good. Something that I can't remember if I put on the website. I know I put it on certain spots, but I just want to say it again. Is if you can have a quarter of an inch of fresh turmeric every day, it's really beneficial. Yeah. You don't need to go
hummus and putting turmeric in the hummus.
Yeah.
Green paste and just adding it in those.
Yeah, because because I've just got like a chunk of. If you've not seen turmeric, it just sort of looks like ginger. It's just bright orange on the inside. So fresh turmeric, Spudshed definitely sells it. I think IGA sell them as well. Not sure, probably not your Coles and your Woolies as much. So it just looks like a big chunk of ginger. When you chop it open, it's this beautiful orange colour, and you just have a quarter of a inch, so it's about the size of your pinky. It's only really small. You can chew it, but I mean, our toothbrush got all yellow, so I just swallow it now. So, and if you want to add to the uptake of the nutrients, you just have it with a bit of pepper. So how I cover that is I swallow it before lunch or dinner, and then I just put pepper on my food. So
is that for inflammation?
Yeah. So it's lots of things, but inflammation, it's really there's so much evidence around it, and you don't have to go and spend, because curcumin, which is the active ingredient in turmeric, you can buy in supplement form, but again, that's assuming that in the turmeric that the curcumin is the only thing that makes the difference, not the other hundreds of vitamins and minerals that are in there. So it's better to have it as that whole form. Yeah.
What about turmeric powder?
Again, that will be if it's dried, if the turmeric's been dried and it's powdered, then yeah.
I found very good results a few years ago having turmeric powder in my shakes when I used to have shakes all the time. Very strong, but I found really good recovery in that with that, because I was working away, so I couldn't have fresh turmeric, so I used that because that's all I could use, and I found I still got really good results. So
it's just going to cost you a lot more.
Right.
You could probably get from the Spudshed, just that's where I get it. From the Spudshed, you probably get a year's worth of turmeric, or a year's supply for maybe $20. And you can freeze it. You just chop it up into little bits, put it in the freezer. So as in for price-wise, much better to use supplements. Yeah, but it's in the supplement, not the curcumin, but the turmeric.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, or not just the forgotten what the word is now.
No, just have
curcumin.
dry. Yeah, just have dried turmeric.
Yeah. All right.
Very good.
Anyone else?
Have we got our blood test forms yet, Powers?
I'll be seeing Sam tomorrow. He does apologise for that. He's just flat out. So we will have, hopefully all have those tomorrow. I just don't want to pressure him too much because I know he's very, very busy. He wasn't real keen on doing it in the first place. So, but he's coming through. So he just missed my first email with everyone's name on it. And then I sent him a second email in the day with a few stragglers, which was like no one. But then he gave me the ones for the no ones and missed the first email. So he's onto it, hopefully. I'll get on to him again tomorrow and we'll get it sorted.
Cool.
And hopefully the diet keeps going long enough that it, it doesn't matter when you do it. A week late.
Yeah.
No. Any other questions, guys?
No, I would.
All right. So, yeah, if you do, like I said, any questions, let me know. I'll get an email out to you within a couple of days. And I'll just cover what we talked about tonight a little bit. And, yeah, we just roll on until next week.
I'll get this out sooner too. I'll try and get this out tomorrow. So if you want to watch over it again. How's Steve going? Because I haven't seen or heard from him. Have you been in contact with him at all, Jim?
No. I'll probably see him. I know he's been running quite a lot, but I haven't seen him for a couple of weeks because I've been sort of doing a different program.
Yep. All right, cool. Well, I've told him to reach out to me just as long as I've got the right email. He's getting everything. So I think so.
Okay. Yeah.
If he's got any dramas, just tell him to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thanks, mate.
All right, guys. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
See you later. See you guys.
See you, Mo. See ya.